Hello, and welcome to the Cultivating Confidence podcast. I am your host, Dr. Nicole Grams. I am a life coach who specializes in anxiety, health, and human design. And I also happen to be a functional medicine pharmacist. This podcast is a compilation of conversations that I've had with clients and colleagues. So listen in as we explore the mind, body, and soul's confidence in its many forms.
Seeing how like the shadows, the old stuff can still like bubble up, it's like a lifetime process, like these major challenges that we all have, we all have unique ones, like the major triggers for each of us. And it's like, no matter how much healing work you do, perhaps it is even in the expectation that we think, oh, I'm going to get rid of it for good. Oh no, universe is going to come right back and test you on that, right?
Yeah. You'll get rid of one layer of it.
Yeah. But then it's like, holy shit, how big is this onion? Because I'm peeling layers away for decades.
Right.
And it makes me think of this like astrological chart that I had done in Sedona, where they put in all your birth date information and like all of this stuff and like spits out all of these things over like your major themes and challenges in this lifetime. That I'm like, damn, that is so accurate and like so true and funny, like in ego thinking, once we overcome like one major obstacle, we make a big breakthrough and think like, okay, yay, that's behind me now.
Right.
Then it comes back. I know, like, no, it's not going to be over. You're just getting stronger and becoming more aware and wise for the next time this thing comes through, because it is like a life theme. Yeah. Will we ever master any of it? Probably not. I think letting go of that expectation is huge.
Yeah.
That makes me think too, with clients, and finding, like knowing when you've got the right client too, that's ready to do the work and isn't just looking for that quick fix. It's so hard these days. People are looking for that, diet is the greatest example, right? All of the diet fads where everyone's like, I just want this pill that'll burn all my fat without me having to work out or eat healthy or anything. I just want it to all go away and be really easy.
Yeah.
Finding and setting boundaries around that too, as much as I want to help people, recognizing and drawing that line, like the more you take care of you, like, and they can see it. That's, I think, where it gets frustrating. Right, where they know they're talking about it. I have to be making more time for me. I'm so tired and stressed out. And they know it's bleeding all over the rest of their life.
Right.
But to get, it's like,
so here's where there's an emotional truth and an intellectual truth. Like they know it intellectually, but they need to feel it in their bodies as their emotional truth. Like that has been like a big, like, honestly, like I got coaching yesterday and I regret not having my coach take me through it, because I was like, oh, I realize I've been feeling a lot of shame and overeating and, going and getting snacks from Quick Trip on my breaks and, like things like that. And I like know that I'm in this shame response when somebody is sitting in their car next to me and I like will hide the thing that I, like this like weird sort of, why the fuck are you doing this, Nicole? This is so stupid. Right. And then slipping into self-criticism. But like, I haven't been processing my shame. I've been like, oh no, I'm too smart for this. Like, I know what's going on. Like, oh, I don't have to feel the thing. Right. Yeah. Like, I know exactly what to do to fix it. I'm fine. And I didn't ask my coach to like put me in that spot of shame to experience it. And I was like, oh yeah, I can already tell my brain is telling me, oh no, well, this is fine. Yeah. Now you know what it is. We're good. Right.
Yeah. We should talk about that more. That's interesting that another new client was asking about that too. Like she's going through, major, a not easy transition and was asking if I ever had issues with eating disorders. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, of all kinds. And I think honestly, what makes me feel so stable now, and that's actually reassuring to hear, you as another coach still dealing with that, I've been wondering, like, I feel like I'm in the most stable part, but is it because I am surrounded by people more often? I feel like that was more of a habit while I was single and alone of, like going to comfort food and whatever, and like just
Mhm.
that urge to like munch or crunch on something, and
Mhm.
having that shame around it too, knowing like, I know what I'm doing. I know this isn't helping. I know what it's going to do, and
Right.
I'm still giving it into it in the moment. But yeah, doing the same thing of like, oh, hide it. We won't talk about it. Pretend like that didn't
Yeah.
happen, whatever. And I've
Well,
been,
and the whole, oh, I'm onto myself. I know exactly what's going on in my head. Like we've been through this before. We've felt shame before. We don't need to
yeah,
feel it again. We know it's there. We've addressed it. Like, no, you still have to feel the feelings, right? Like you still have
yeah.
to go into that deep, shitty.
Yeah, because that's what the food will do too. If you
Yeah.
overeat, it's enough. It's that immediate gratification thing where
Mhm.
it feels good in the moment. One of the therapists that I worked with before too had a specialty with eating disorders, and she had a lot of great things to say about it too. That food is so common. I mean, gosh, compared to other things of alcohol, drugs, etc., gambling, sex, all
Mhm.
of the things, food is like the relatively, I guess, healthiest
Right.
one, I guess, depending on what you're eating too. But um, that food is always consistent,
Right.
that we
Can't go
can
without
depend.
it.
Exactly. When we can't go without it, and whatever that sweet or salty or whatever that thing is that is your go-to, like it's
Mhm.
always the same. You
Mhm.
can depend on it.
Right.
It's that interesting, and to lean
Yeah.
on. And it's funny, I've been reflecting on that a lot lately. And it's funny that it has been coming up with more clients, maybe now that I do feel like I'm at a stable point. But I'm like, would I still be doing it if I were still on my own and like dealing with stress? Now that I'm with this partner that I'm with around the clock, it's like, it's funny, you're more mindful. And also just the fact like, okay, now we were feeding ourselves and two kids, and then his son's coming out here too. So then it's like, Jesus, for
Right.
how fast we go through food, that's also made me more mindful. But also just like having that partner to talk through issues with, am
Mhm.
I feeling more emotionally stable now that I'm not on my own? Because I think a lot of my issue around food before was straight up out of loneliness.
Yeah.
All day long I could march around like I'm, Miss Independent, just rocking it and doing all this shit myself and acting like it's fine. And then by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm fucking tired and this sucks and I'm really
Yeah.
lonely. And like food is that comfort.
Right. Well, and it's this performative dance that we do in front of people. Like, this is what my life is like. And then when you're not being your authentic self and you're holding that mask in front of you all day, it's exhausting. And then when you get exhausted, you want that quick dopamine hit. And food will do
Yeah.
that.
It, yeah, it definitely will. That's interesting too. Funny. I was just kind of talking about that a bit today. And I think we've talked about it a bit before over, talking about these masks that we wear.
Hmm.
And I was just reflecting this morning. I'm like, wow, it's so funny that I like see these things as bizarre that I used to do in regards to like wearing the masks,
Hmm.
dyeing our hair, wearing makeup, all of the things. Like I
Yeah.
at one point thought I would never leave the house without makeup ever
Yeah.
again. And
I
now
mean, I
I'm
thought
like,
that starting in like middle school.
seriously, that's when I started wearing
Yeah.
makeup. And like, oh, I couldn't go anywhere without wearing eyeliner because that looked weird. Like,
I'd
what?
wake up an hour early so I could curl my hair for school.
Yep. Me too. Me too. Oh my gosh. Not only dyeing it, but yeah, using all the hot irons, curlers and
Yeah.
straighteners and all of the things. And it's
Right.
like, what we will do to keep up an appearance. And you're right, around the
Yeah.
food thing, we can be totally different in front of people.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful point that, once you're behind closed doors and like just feeling that weight of like pressure to maintain those appearances, isn't it funny that we
Hmm.
tend to swing in the opposite direction once we
Yeah.
are alone, like to
Compensate.
compensate for
Yeah.
that? So that's funny. Perhaps that's a lot to do with feeling more balanced now because
Yeah.
I'm finally letting myself just be me
Right.
and going
You
out.
don't need to buffer the emotions and the exhaustion because it's not there,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm being
Well,
me.
there's still definitely a lot of emotions, and there's
Well,
all
right, right, right.
good
But they're like
emotions.
genuine.
Yeah.
They're not performative emotions.
Yeah, I like that performative. How many of us are living a show, right? because we feel we have to be a certain way and show up as a certain person, or
Right.
especially if we've built a reputation in any area as being, positive and, healthy and all of the
Mhm.
things, the role model. I've got to
Yeah.
maintain that. And God forbid anybody knew that I acted more human and
Yeah.
hard
Right.
on myself behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So that'd be really interesting. I'd like to talk more with you about that, and we'll see, how that comes together. Because I think food and eating habits is something that everyone struggles with to some level. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
not everyone, but
Right.
under stress, gosh, it's been a really, really common theme
Yeah.
with every one of my clients, like,
Yeah. And I think an easy overcompensation for that is to kind of slip into, oh, well, I just won't have anything in my house. Like I'll restrict it from myself by
oh
omission.
yeah, I did.
Right. But like that's not helpful for us, because then when we never have the snacks, then when they are available to us, that's when we binge, and that's when
Yep.
we like can't control ourselves because we don't expose ourselves to it. So I
Yep.
don't think like getting rid of all the bad food in your house is not, I mean, to a certain extent is helpful, but like the idea that I like to dive into with people is to really understand why we're doing the things. And that's why, like, oh, I know why I'm doing the thing. I'm good. Like, and then I'm stopping there, when everyone else I would coach into like, all right, well, let's actually process that emotion and let's show
Right.
ourselves
Need to
that
live.
it's safe to feel this emotion, even though it doesn't feel very safe. And then you don't have to cover it up with food. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to numb it with
Numb
anything
it.
else.
Exactly. Because man, and I love every opportunity. Well, I don't love it at the time, but I do
Right.
after, when
In
you feel,
hindsight.
yeah, exactly. In hindsight, I just, yeah, want to laugh thinking of all of the times that I felt that coming on, and where in the past the reaction would be like, oh my gosh, stuff it down, like go grab this to munch on or that,
Right.
until I don't feel it anymore. But really, like, that prolongs it.
Mm-hmm.
I laugh because in the moments that I let myself just sit in my shit and feel it, it passes through so much
Yeah.
faster. It might get intense for a minute. Man, I've sobbed some good hard tears for a minute, but then it, like, you can feel it bubbling out, and then this big release of like, oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
That I've been trying to stuff down and keep down there for so
Right.
long. For why? Because I was afraid of this final, like, liberating release.
Yeah.
We
Very dramatic self. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, seriously. It is wild, but such is life.
Yeah.
So I appreciate being able to talk about all of this stuff with you too.
Yeah. And we'll
Just
talk
be
more.
real about it. We will.
Thank you for taking the time to listen in today. Many of you will be able to take the ideas that you've heard and apply them in your daily life, and that's really all you need. That's amazing. But for those of you who could use a little one-on-one help with how to make these things actually work for you in your real life, please reach out. The link to schedule a consult with me is in the show notes. You don't have to do this alone. See you soon.